Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in this world. This is Agent Lee with an update for Bitcoin. I posted this as an alert last night. I think it has a good degree of probability for the head and shoulders top pattern. Now, from a symmetrical or symmetry perspective, it isn't great. The height of the left shoulder is way more higher than the right shoulder. And if you cut this in half, the symmetry is pretty poor. I understand that, granted. Better the symmetry, usually, not always. Quite often it means better the call. Probability of that pattern completing. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because there is still a good degree of potential for this still to remain as an A, B, C, an expanded flat. Remember that in Elliott waves, an expanded flat, very simply put, is when the B wave rises above the origin of the A wave, and when the C wave, in a subwave of impulse 5 waves, declines below the low of the A. And that's exactly what we have here, A, B, and C. Now, a few days ago, before all of this additional development, I was calling this a WXY and thought maybe it'll be done. But when I'm seeing this upward wedge forming and the potential of this head and shoulders top, that means we've got likely further declines to come, especially if two things happen. One, the right shoulder completes by declining down towards and touching the yellow neckline. Two, confirmation of this head and shoulders will be when this neckline is breached decisively to the downside. So those two requirements have not yet been filled. So this head and shoulders is not complete. So yes, this could be maybe a diagonal 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 up to 6K we go. But usually the sideways action lasts a good amount of time. Look at this sideways action that we experienced back in February, in March rather. And so this means that there's got to be more consolidation coming to be expected. And the sideways action a few days since the 3rd of April to current, while it could suffice, I mean, I'm not going to rule anything out from a possibility perspective. I think it is more probable for this wedge to further break down. It has already broken down. It's coming back to retest the underside belly of the lower green trend line, and that's quite common. And I think then it'll start impulsing down as shown by the yellow waves of 1, 2, ABC, or you can call it WXY. I think this is an ABC. And if that yellow 2 is complete, then yellow 3 should, if it goes lower low, should complete the right shoulder and breach the neckline to generate this. And with regards to that, that'll bring us down to probably the 4,400, I would give as high as maybe 4,700 range. Okay. Since this wave 1 was pretty long, it's also potential that 3, 4, and 5 will be shorter than 1, except 3 will not be the shortest. That is a potential as well. But if this head and shoulders has that minimum price travel as shown by the purple line, it's going to be at around the 4,400. So for now, I'm going to put it here. Put the yellow 5 at around 4,400 now. They don't call it minimum for nothing, right? So we might even get a price wick down further, but it could be very momentary to wash out all the bears and then come right back up, and that should finish the wave yellow 5. So again, primary on this short-term count is that ABC, expanded flat, is in progress. Primary count on a longer-term perspective still shows that this ABC, I'm expecting C to probably go deep within this cluster of resistance, which is why I have the C at around here, but it could potentially be done too. Okay, but as I said, it's highly unusual to have a VU double reversal, ascending right triangle, inverted head and shoulders, all clustered, just to give an ABC. It's very unusual, which is why the alternate count, as I've shown already in this count, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we are here. We are finishing the yellow 4 of 3. I think we should go to the 6Ks or the low 6Ks. And if that happens, then if we go to the 6Ks, I think the ABC is then off the table. The cluster of bullish patterns will lend to the fact that this is probably 1, 2, wave 3 in progress. The fact that it's going vertical. I think after this wave 4 is done, we should see another vertical. 3 of the 5. And if that's the case, then at around June and May or so, we'll get a sizable correction. Now, if you look at this again, these white 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 become themselves subwaves to a higher degree of trend, wave 1. Remember, it's like the Russian dolls. There's one exact replicate of it smaller within the larger ones, and so on and so on. And that's exactly how the waves go with subwaves and higher degree of trends. So the white 5 waves make up the subwaves of blue 1. Then we'll get a sizable correction in June, July, August. Okay? And that'll give the wave 2 of the higher degree of trend. And this is why I'm coming up with the late summer, early fall projection, where then we have the wave 3 going much higher, breaking that resistance. Okay, that's when, in that time frame, if we look at this again, I think a little more higher high to 6.2K or 6K, we'll get a smackdown, and this smackdown will be the same as this ABC, yellow ABC in June, May, June, end of May, June time frame. And that smackdown, just like it happened here, look, in 2015, look at how it touched the 50-week moving average and got smacked down pretty hard. Now, I think this smackdown is going to be pretty hard too. We may even go back to the 3200s, 3300s, just almost close to the December lows. But then again, that's okay from an Elliott wave perspective, because let me draw out the Elliott wave here. If we have wave 1, okay, and we have wave 2, as long as wave 2 does not equal the origin of wave 1, which will be the December low of 3100, 3101, whatever it was, then we should get a wave 3. This wave 3 will probably go to the 20K and so on, or something like this. Hard to project if, anything further out than that, but if this is an impulse of 1, 2, and that smackdown is going to be the wave 2, and there'll be a lot of fear and FUD going around during this time frame. But let's say, as a trader, we take our profits now, or at 6.2K, taking profits now will not be terrible. You just miss out on a few hundred, let's say, okay? All right, maybe almost 1,000. But even if you did, when that smackdown comes, you'll be rich in cash, let's say, to buy back in the 3,200 level to prep yourself for long-term hold for the remainder of the 3, 4, and 5. And after this 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is done, let me put the time frame better a little here, let's say. What happens after wave 5? Well, after 5 waves, there's a requisite correction. You can't avoid it. There's no way to avoid the requisite correction. No way. You have to go through it because it's a mathematical association based on the Fibonacci ratio. So now, let's take this off for now. Now, I try always to combine the pattern recognition with Elliott waves. So we've inscribed the potential Elliott waves. Now let's look at this. Go like this, draw it underneath the belly. It'll be a very nice saucer effect. All right? And if that is correct, this coming correction would be a very nice handle. Okay? And then from there, from here, my goodness, the jaw-dropping effects will be what's going to really drive the all-time new highs continuously for some time to come. Okay, so perhaps we can get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ABC correction. That whole thing could be maybe a cup and handle continuation pattern. Usually the cup and handle is always a bottoming pattern. Okay, but I have seen mid-travel cup and handles that execute very well, very nicely on a bullish note. And this could be exactly that. Now, let's look at the 2015. We had a very nice cup and a handle right there. Okay? And that handle was not as big in price. Okay? This handle was not as big in price as the one that will be coming up. And that's because of differential in the prices. But the logarithmic should still normalize that. So what I'm saying is that my handle here could be way too big. So let's say we go to the 20,000 and we do a smallish handle, something like this. And if this plays out, maybe we go to 12,000, come down to 20,000, come down to 12,000. Meanwhile, that ABC will set up the handle just like it did in the 2015. So fractal nature is pretty impressive. Okay? And this is what's really in my longer term perspective. So regardless, if you look at this 50-week moving average, don't care about the pattern, don't care about the Elliott waves. If you just look at the 50-week moving average and wait for the price to decisively cross by one full bar, just like here, the way I drew it out, that'll be the major buy signal. That'll be the investor class buy signal that you do not want to miss out on. Okay? And by knowing this kind of forward-looking price projection is the way to modulate your FOMO sentiment. So let's say you bought here, oh my God, you're looking at so much profit and you're afraid of losing, you sell out. Meanwhile, there's this huge buy signal that's been triggered. And by knowing that, in knowledge of that buy signal, how it works, will prevent you from selling out here, but instead hold. Okay? And by knowing this pattern and knowing the fractal, how it happened, you could, as a trader, maybe take your profits somewhere here, buy back and again, and ride the rest up. So all of this is pretty much what goes through in my brain constantly. And guess what? It's all subject to be changed. Why? Price, action, patterns, everything morphs constantly. It's never static. It's always a dynamic event. All right. Enjoy your Saturdays, and I'll talk to you soon.